May 1943. A Kanchanaburi merchant named Boon Pong drives a produce truck up to a Japanese army checkpoint along the Thailand-Burma Railway. The delivery is stamped and approved. Vegetables for the prisoner of war canteens he's contracted to supply. Hidden beneath the produce, medicine, cash, and radio parts. If a guard had ever pulled back the vegetables and looked closely, it would have meant his life. POWs and post-war historians would later credit what he smuggled with cutting the camp death rate from 5 men a day to about 1 a week. Today, the exact ground he supplied, the bridge, the cutting, the cemetery, is named again and again among Thailand's most haunted places. The Imperial Japanese Army built this railway between October 1942 and October 1943, 4 or 15 kilometers through jungle and rock, meant to supply troops in Burma without relying on ships the Allies could sink. Engineers before the war had estimated a project like this would take 5 years. The Japanese Army demanded it finished in about 1. It ran on forced labor. More than 60,000 Allied prisoners of war, Australian, British, Dutch, and American, alongside an estimated 200,000 conscripted Asian laborers known as Romusha, drawn from Malaya, Burma, Java, and southern India. Roughly 2,800 of those 60,000 Allied POWs never went home. War memorials tallying Australian, British, and Dutch losses in the low thousands each. The Romusha toll was worse and is far less documented. Up to 90,000 conscripted laborers died, most without their names ever recorded anywhere. Allied dead were counted, buried, and eventually named on cemetery walls. The Romusha mostly weren't. At a cutting called Hellfire Pass, POWs worked around the clock by petrol lamp light. The flames flickering against rock at night gave the place its name. Of an estimated 1,000 men assigned to dig it, only about 100 were reportedly still alive when it was finished, 12 weeks later in August 1943. Into this system stepped a shopkeeper the Japanese Army trusted enough to supply their prisoners, Bunpong Sirivejabandu. His canteen contract was real. So was what he hid inside it: quinine, cash, and radio components, packed under vegetables, and driven past armed checkpoints at a risk that meant torture or execution if discovered. He made this run not once, but repeatedly, along camps strung out across the length of the line for years. He wasn't working alone. Boon Pong operated inside the underground V organization, funneling smuggled supplies to camp doctors, most famously to the Australian POW physician Sir Edward Weary Dunlop, whose own medical work on the railway is separately well documented. The result, credited by POW associations and post-war historians, the death rate at the camps he supplied fell from around 5 men a day in May 1943 to about 1 a week by that November. Afterward, the Netherlands made him an officer of the Order of Orange Nassau. Britain honored him too. Sources differ on the exact decoration, and Dunlop personally intervened when Thai police mistakenly targeted Boon Pong after the war, standing behind the man who had once smuggled medicine into his own camp. A scholarship fund still carries both of their names to this day, but Boon Pong couldn't reach every camp, and he couldn't undo every death already underway. Thousands of the men who built this railway are buried within a few kilometers of where he once made his deliveries. The bridge most people picture over this river isn't the real one. The actual bridge crosses the Mae Klong River. Thailand didn't rename that stretch Kwai Ye until the 1960s, years after the 1957 film The Bridge on the River Kwai made the name famous worldwide, and tourists kept asking locals where the river in the movie was. That film's ending, prisoners blowing up their own bridge, never happened, and its wooden bridge was built on a set in Sri Lanka, thousands of miles from Kanchanaburi. The concrete and steel bridge standing in Kanchanaburi today is real. Its curved spans are original 1943 construction. its straight sections rebuilt after Allied bombing runs later in the war. The movie got the name and the ending wrong. It didn't invent the deaths. What isn't fiction is the site's reputation. The bridge, Hellfire Pass, and the war cemetery holding nearly 7,000 Allied dead are named again and again in Thai travel and paranormal accounts as among the country's most haunted places. Guides and visitors reporting footsteps, cold spots, and figures in tattered uniforms along the rails at night. And the ground still gives up its dead. In 2025, construction near the Kanchanaburi governor's office uncovered skeletal remains, 106 of them, formally cremated in a public ceremony. A reminder that, more than 80 years later, not every body from this railway was ever accounted for. Boon Pong spent years risking his life so fewer men would die on this line. He couldn't save all of them. Whether the ones he couldn't reach are the same figures locals report seeing along the tracks is a question no camera or historian has ever settled. What do you think the ground still remembers?